Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Paul Hewitt. I'm a partner here at Edgile, and welcome to our webinar today around our launch of our managed service around Microsoft Azure Sentinel. This is a really exciting time for us, and I'm joined today by my colleague Paul Gagaki, a managing director here at Edgile, and also delighted to welcome from Microsoft David Branscombe, who is a senior cloud solutions architect, as well as Joe Marin, who is the CEO of CyFlare, who, as you'll learn in this webinar today, is we're partnering with, from an Edgile perspective, we're partnering with CyFlare around the launch of this managed service. So it's a very exciting opportunity, and I think hopefully you'll get a chance to learn a little bit more about what we're up to, and this will be of interest to you in your journey around the use of this tool set and your cybersecurity needs. So in terms of our agenda, I'm going to spend a few minutes just refreshing people about who we are, Edgile and CyFlare, so say a little bit about these two organizations. I'm sure you all are very well aware of Microsoft, so probably not much introduction on Microsoft, but we'll start there and spend a few minutes talking about Edgile and CyFlare, and then we'll ask David to spend some time talking about the Azure Sentinel platform. So for those of you who are new to Azure Sentinel, I think this is a great introductory section that sort of explains a little bit about the market positioning of the product and why this is so important and strategic to Microsoft, and a great platform upon which we've built this service. And after that, we'll turn it over to Paul, and Paul will talk more specifically about Edgile's managed service and the differentiating factors around that. Before handing it over for Joe to talk about the CyFlare component of this and give you an actual demo of the CyFlare capabilities around this managed service. And then finally, we'll talk a little bit about how to get started, our QuickStart program around this area, and leave some time at the end for your questions and answers, and some Q&A. So that's our agenda today, and if we can move on, we'll just give you a quick introduction to those. For those of you who don't know anything about Edgile, we're a professional services firm that focuses in three key distinct areas. One is identity, one is risk and compliance, and one is information security. And it's really the intersection of those three domains that we focus in on. We've been a Microsoft Gold partner in the security space since the early 2000s, and we were fortunate enough to be the Security System Integrator of the Year in 2020. And this, therefore, is really a natural maturation of our business. Lots of clients that we work with have been deploying the EMS suite, E3, E5, etc. And as you'll hear, the Sentinel product launch in the direction that Microsoft's been going with this is really sort of the next evolution of that. So it's really a logical step for Edgile to enter into this portion of the market and help and support customers who are deploying this technology in their environment. We've been on a journey together with CyFlare over the last few months here as part of our launch, and this chart really shows you sort of the history of both Edgile and CyFlare together. As I said, back in 2005, we became a gold partner of Microsoft in the security space, and CyFlare started their journey a little bit more recent, but they are rapidly becoming an important player in the managed services marketplace. In fact, they're in the top 100 MSSPs around the world, and we're very excited to partner with Joe and his team around this specific offering. So as you can see here, we're putting the building blocks of this offering together now and have it available, and that's really the focus of this conversation, this webinar today. So we're going to get into a lot more detail about that. But let me first hand it over to David Branscombe from Microsoft. Again, thanks, David, for joining us here. And what I've asked David to do is really sort of give you the background to Sentinel, why it's so strategic to Microsoft, what is Sentinel exactly as a platform, and how it can meet your cybersecurity needs. And then from that, we can then talk more about the actual managed service offering itself. So David?
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. I'm really excited to see this new work that Edgile is doing in this space, and especially the partnership that they've established with CyFlare. I think it really has the opportunity to create some great security advantages for their customers. So talking about Azure Sentinel, some of the main advantages that I see of Azure Sentinel, one of the things that makes Sentinel so fantastic to me is the fact that it's really a complete reimagining of the SIEM and SOAR solution. And what I mean by that is Sentinel is a born in the cloud service. It's not just a bunch of servers that have been virtualized and moved from your on-premise data center into a cloud data center. It is a cloud native solution. It's built from the ground up with Azure services. Azure Sentinel also makes it very easy for you to collect security data across your entire hybrid organization from all your devices, your users, your applications, whatever services you're connecting to. It can even connect to third-party cloud providers like Amazon or Google and pull in data from their locations and analyze that and help you to act on that. It then uses the power of artificial intelligence to ensure that you're able to identify any threats very quickly. And it uses machine learning algorithms and different models, as well as the collective power of Microsoft security researchers to identify threats that have been recognized to exist in your environment. And since it's built on Azure, as I mentioned before, it has limitless cloud, limitless scale, and that scale happens automatically to address your capacity needs. So think about what that might mean for your staff. You know, your traditional SIEMs are often very expensive to own and operate. You usually have to commit a lot of hardware, commit a lot of funding to hardware upfront, and that often results in high spend for getting the project off the ground. With Azure Sentinel, there's no upfront cost. You pay for what you use. And right now we're offering Office 365 Activity Data Report to be ingested into Azure Sentinel at no cost. So that'll help you to get started with Sentinel at a very reduced upfront cost. Now, Forrester did a total economic impact assessment on Azure Sentinel. They released this back in November. And what they really identified were some dramatic advantages to using Azure Sentinel as compared to using maybe a legacy SIEM provider. What they found was that it was about 45% less expensive than a legacy on-premise SIEM deployment, and it could be deployed in about a third of the time. So that's largely thanks to the fact that much of the functionality of the SIEM is built into the product. It's available right out of the box. More importantly, there was about a 79% reduction in the number of false positives over a 3-year time frame, and an estimated 80% reduction in the investigation labor effort. So those are things that are going to have a dramatic impact and an improvement on your SOC efficiency and help make sure that your analysts are avoiding getting burned by investigation fatigue. Now, a couple weeks ago, Gartner also announced their Magic Quadrant for SIEM providers or SIEM tools, and Azure Sentinel was listed in the visionary category, the very first time that it was entered into this category. So that's fantastic to hear, being recognized as a visionary with a product that's really less than 2 years old. And there's a huge amount of additional development that's been done on the product even since that initial evaluation of Sentinel was done. Now, with Azure Sentinel, you can aggregate all the security data using built-in data connectors. You can have native integration of your signals from your Microsoft 365 or Azure Cloud Services. And we also support the ingestion of data from industry standard formats such as syslog. In addition to that, we're continuing to work with many of our security partners to help develop and support much easier to deploy connectors and dashboards for solutions from vendors like Palo Alto Networks, F5, Symantec, Fortinet. Many others are in the works. And as you may know, Azure Sentinel is based on the Azure Monitor service, which uses a very highly scalable log analytics database that supports ingestion of more than 10 petabytes every day. So you don't have to worry about capacity or scale for your environment. Sentinel also has an extremely fast query engine that can sort through millions of lines of records in just a few seconds to get to the critical data and identify threats. It also integrates with the Graph security APIs. So if you want to bring your own threat intelligence feeds into Sentinel, that's fully supported. But one thing that I think all of us can agree on is that the amount of signal that's coming into an organization is growing every single day. And it can be really hard for a human analyst to piece the different pieces of an attack together. That's why Azure Sentinel uses very sophisticated, very scalable machine learning algorithms so that we can correlate these millions of pieces of low fidelity alerts and stitch them together into just a few very high fidelity security incidents that require action by an analyst. Sentinel also includes user behavior analytics to help you identify anomalies, things like compromised identities, malicious insider actions, and so on. Now, obviously, Sentinel isn't able to resolve every single problem automatically. There often has to be a human involved in that resolution, and that's where Edgile's partnership with CyFlare can really enhance your organization's security posture. Now, while AI, artificial intelligence, can sharpen your focus on finding problems, once you've solved the problem, you don't want to keep finding that same problem over and over again. Instead, you want to leverage automation to address those repeat issues automatically. So Azure Sentinel provides built-in automation with the ability to use predefined or even custom created playbooks to solve those repetitive tasks and respond to known threats in a very rapid and automated way. With that capability, Azure Sentinel can help augment existing enterprise defenses and investigation tools, including some of the best of breed security products, if you've built your own homegrown tools, and then systems like HR management applications and workflow management systems, for example, ServiceNow. Now, I talked about the cost effectiveness of Azure Sentinel, the reduced amount of time getting it up and running, the dramatically lower upfront costs in deploying Azure Sentinel. And that's where a great partner like Edgile can help you get this up and running using best practices, their extensive security experience, and couple that with CyFlare's fantastic monitoring capabilities. Many enterprises are using Office 365, and more often, what we see is that they're adopting the advanced security and compliance offerings that are included in Microsoft 365. Now, from a security perspective, there's many use cases where you want to combine security data from users, endpoint applications, and so on with information from your infrastructure environment, maybe even third-party data to understand the complete scope of an attack. And ideally, you'd like to do that within the compliance boundaries of a single cloud provider. So for several months now, we've made it possible for our customers to bring their Office 365 activity data into Azure Sentinel for free. So it just takes a few clicks and you're capturing your logs in Sentinel in the cloud. So what does this mean for you as a customer? It means you're reducing your infrastructure costs because you can automatically scale resources as you need it, when you need it, and you're only paying for what you actually use. You pay nothing extra for the ingestion of the data from Office 365, the Azure activity logs, and other alerts from, for example, the Microsoft Threat Protection solutions. And you have the opportunity to save up to 60% compared to the pay-as-you-go pricing by using what we call capacity reservations with Azure Sentinel. So what that allows you to do is have a predictable monthly bill and the flexibility to change your capacity commitment every 31 days. So from a financial perspective, there are some real advantages both in the short and long term. Now I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, David. Well, that's obviously a great overview of the Sentinel capabilities, and I think hopefully you get a sense of how strategic this platform is to Microsoft and organizations that are deploying the Microsoft Security Suite. And that's really why we partnered together here with CyFlare, Joe and his team, to build a managed service specifically around that. So you may already be on your Microsoft EMS security journey, maybe thinking about Sentinel, maybe you even have deployed Sentinel, but perhaps you're also thinking about using a managed service, a third party to help support your cybersecurity operations. And that's really the opportunity that we saw in the market here at Edgile, given its strategic positioning in the Microsoft portfolio. And so in response to that, we've doubled down a lot on resourcing, training our own folks around this. We're committed to this as a practice area. We've built a lot of marketing collateral, including this webinar to support that, and this partnership that we have with Joe and team, which we'll get into here in a second. So that really helps us, I think, be that much more of a full service professional services organization to our clients. It's obviously a rising need or increasing need in our client base to help them support them with their cybersecurity needs. And that obviously translates to a deeper relationship for Edgile, which is something we obviously value. So for all those reasons, we've partnered with CyFlare and the team here to build this managed service. And so what I'd like to do now is introduce Paul Gagaki, a managing director here at Edgile, to kick us off and talk more specifically about what the managed service contains. And then that'll lead into a discussion from Joe and the CyFlare team about the actual capabilities that we have as a managed service and the demo of those things that we were on offer here. So, Dave, Paul.
So thanks, Paul. I'm Paul Gagaki, like Paul mentioned, a managing director with Edgile in the East region, helping to lead this managed service and this managed service offering. So thinking about what sets us apart from other managed service providers, our partnership allows us to bring to the table a deep expertise in security consulting, along with the know-how of running a managed service, and obviously that's the CyFlare piece of it. So one of the things is we take every incident seriously, and for instance, all monitored security solutions have the same SLA unless explicitly defined by the customer statement of work. So one of the things that sets us apart is that the time frames that are determined from the time of the detection notification created to the timestamp on the SOC ticket generated to the time it's taken to the customer and the event is closed in the CyFlare One platform. And the CyFlare One platform we'll get to a little bit later. Joe will talk to that. So basically, to recap, once a ticket is generated to the SOC, we use the time to triage and then reply back as the SLA, whereas a typical response time is based on the SOC replying to an incident without that initial investigation. So also too included, one of our differentiating factors is we're dedicate a customer service representative both from the CyFlare side and from the Edgile side to help communicate with the customer on certain things that are happening in the market, things that are we're seeing at other clients within the SOC, and then giving some advice on best practices and ways to mitigate some of those items that come up. So we have a high touch service, and we typically do this on a monthly basis with our clients. Another factor is there are APIs to connect to the SOC, meaning that it's future proof. So any future changes or things that may come up as part of technology changes, it's easier to take what we currently have and make things available or move things around to make sure that things are put in a make sure that things are transparent and that things are connected easily. And finally, the CyFlare One platform is really analytics for the boardroom. So management or an executive can see real time what is happening within the SOC and report back accordingly. And that's one of the things that comes up quite a bit with managed services. What's happening right now, and you're easily capable to go in and take a look at what is being provided by the managed service. So the other thing that you get with going with this managed service are the use cases that we have built prepackaged out of the box. There's 56 different use cases that are applied to your environment right away with a little bit of tweaking, but we all know that. so thinking about that, we all know that today's enterprise technologies generate lots and lots of data in the form of logs, and traditional security information and event management technologies are utilized to analyze these logs and look for correlations that map back to known attack patterns. So this approach has limited success and generates a ton of false positives. So you need a lot of manpower to filter that out, and that's one of the things that we're here to solve. So to solve this problem, we have the alert framework. Edgile has developed the alert framework. It's a concept based on big data analytics technologies applied to these different SIEM scenarios, which are these use cases that we're applying to each client that that comes into the environment. So the enterprises take these different. So we take these security technologies and run without proper context. It's kind of it doesn't make a lot of sense. So the threat framework performs baselining of alert data generated by these security technologies to understand the normal behavior of these technologies, which means irregular or anomalous behavior mapped to threat scenarios is highly effective approach at leveraging these security technologies to accurately detect these threats. So the threat framework also helps to identify gaps in the enterprise security strategy and security technology themselves, which is great because it allows us to understand the environment that is out there and help us take a proactive approach into these sort of things that we're monitoring and learning against. So this approach allows Edgile and CyFlare to quickly adapt to any combination of technologies or architectures or policies or procedures in the enterprise environments. And the listed 3 items here are from the threat framework and is used as a starting point for gaining visibility and baselining each environment and maximizing the value to the client. So beyond the base threat framework, there's, every environment is unique. I think we all realize that. And, there's all these concepts around for building more data points and bringing in, more information. You can get higher accuracy. And, that's one of the things that we provide with the managed SOC. So how can Edgile Managed Services provide powered by CyFlare help? There is flexibility in the security support requirements. And to touch on that, there's 2 different levels of support, allowing for clients that need more or less as it relates to the managed service, the ability to do so. So there's the 2 that we're going to talk about are an enhanced level and a premier level. So the enhanced level includes expedited response timeframes and our customer success and the customer success manager led touch point that summarizes the SOC and what's going on currently. Product updates, threat campaign advisors, and specific insights on what has been observed within the SOC in the last 30 days. So the premier level includes everything that I just mentioned, along with a rapid response dedicated senior security expert, threat hunting, regular cybersecurity posture assessments, and weekly security briefings. So within each of these different tiers that I just talked about, there's obviously 24/7 by 365 monitoring. There's security solution recommendations and guidance. There's the weekly reports that I touched on, and also a customer success manager that I mentioned earlier. So I guess the key takeaways from this slide are that within both of these different tiers, there's the proactive threat detection and also the security technology management built into both of these different levels. So if we think about our managed service practice in 5 steps, we think about it as identify, consult, deliver, manage, and respond. Step 1 is we need data. Whether that data comes from Microsoft logs or other sources, we need to have data flowing into the system to make some sort of analysis. And we have many clients that are utilizing Sentinel for all of their Microsoft data sources in the cloud while keeping their on-prem SIEM because they're realizing of the benefits of the cloud-based SIEM and what that means to their environment. And it's something that's included as a part of their licensing. So we do see a split kind of scenario right now between keeping their on-prem and starting to move things into the cloud because of the licensing with the Microsoft Sentinel. So step 2 is applying the use cases we previously discussed and even potentially identifying new use cases that would only apply to the client-specific environment based on the type of logs we're ingesting. That could be something specific to Epic if you're a healthcare provider, or Oracle if you're an Oracle shop. So based on those use cases, we get into step 3, which is having the SOC fine-tune those use cases and those detections, eliminating those false positives, and really only understanding and looking at what's real and what makes sense. So that gets us to step 4. The SOC then triages the ticket, looks into it and responds to the client and makes sure that we're following up accordingly and ensuring that it's something real and that we need to look into and triage. So throughout the 5 steps, it's never just a one and done. It's a continuous cycle, and I think we all kind of understand that. It's a continuous cycle of identifying what's out there. Are there any new data sources as the years go on? What else do we need to collect from? How do we fine tune those? What are other use cases that are coming out? What's the new threat based on what are the ransomware attacks out there? How can we identify and understand what those are? And then kind of getting into the managed service piece of let's triage and understand it, and let's be a little proactive about that. So, and now I'll hand it over to Joe with CyFlare to talk about this managed service overview and give a bit of a demo.
Awesome, thank you, Paul. I'm looking forward to this. I'm going to show a bit of a demo at the end and just a couple of slides that sort of set the stage before we jump into that. Next slide, please. All right, so just a high level to give you a sense of what's going on. How do we connect? We're extremely cloud focused, cloud first, and cloud native, as is Azure Sentinel, as you guys know. So this diagram it's really just a quick visual to explain sending log data from your on-prem servers, cloud connected stuff via APIs things within the Azure, complete platform altogether. It's all aggregating data within the Azure Sentinel platform. We connect via API to our backend. We call this Platform One that we've been developing for years. And we connect via APIs, ingest events. And the reason Paul mentioned 56 use cases is Azure Sentinel has 202 use cases defined out of the box. Some of those are machine learning or AI powered. So it's a little more complicated than just a straight 202. 56 key use cases mapped to the MITRE framework, super important. We bring in those 56. If you say I need to be 58, I care about custom use cases, that's where Edgile has power. And we can create and extend the out-of-the-box capabilities within the Sentinel platform to make it aligned with your risk appetite, the things you could do. A lot of clients, especially in the enterprise, distributed enterprise, large enterprise, you already have a SOC, you already have a platform. Maybe you're moving from a legacy SIEM to Azure Sentinel, something more next-gen centric, something that you want the UBA capabilities, you want machine learning power, you want extensibility or cost saving. Whatever the reasoning is, what we've developed is an open platform that allows us to connect to Sentinel, connect to other things that you may have, and bring it into an analytics platform that's built for the leadership team to be able to assess patterns, trend spotting, some predictive analysis to actually see the detection volume. Where is it coming from? If we keep going like this, how's it trending? There's a number of different things. So just, I guess the net of this is that we leverage APIs wherever we can. It's secure, it's cloud connected. Everything's within our SOC 2 environment, and it's simple to turn on. It literally takes 15 minutes to get detections flowing from Azure Sentinel to CyFlare SOC. In terms of the planning is the hard part, the click and configuring, that's the quick and simple part. Next slide, please. All right, so we talked a little bit on the CSM. This has been a huge part of our practice. We've earned over the years a number of high-profile clients because we're extremely high touch. What we've learned is that a SOC needs to see everything. We have to understand, all of the log data. Obviously, that gives us a full picture especially when we're doing machine learning and correlation or advanced investigations. But there's a big component of this where it is really important that you're working with a consultancy. There's a strategic path. There's a reason for everything happening. And that's realized in these regular touch points. Some clients have the appetite of let's do this every week. They're all over it. They're extremely paranoid and they want continuous improvement now. Other clients just don't have the capability. They have a staggered start. They move at different paces. They want to do it once a quarter, once a month. It's up to you. You have the option. But here's a quick look at what we do. We deal with SOC change events. What's happening within our platform, our team, our structure that you need to be aware of, new features, capabilities, emerging threat campaigns, where we've identified particular IOCs, and now that's going to trigger new detections that may come in to your team. So we're very communicative on that level. Same thing with client change events. If we don't know that it's absolutely benign and something we don't care about, we will raise it, right? So it's really important. We know what's changing within the client environment, whether it's a server, acquisition activity, divestiture, whatever the change event might be. Those are things that we cover. And we really spend a lot of time on analytics and trends. And you can't look at everything, right? So it's about defining a couple of key things. Let's focus on that. Let's understand, let's get better, let's improve. And then we'll go to the smaller bar, as I call it. And eventually we're talking about things that happen at a much smaller scale and dramatic improvement over time. So a lot of time is spent in the analytics and the trends and really just looking for things that we want to get curious on. A typical event, ticket, incident summary review, maybe highlight a couple of key tickets to see, is there communication things that can be improved? Was there a material event that needs forensic reporting, something in depth that you could provide to governance boards and leadership team and compliance boards, etc. Those are things that we would discuss. And then overall, just quick tidbits in terms of things that are trending. The ransomware campaigns, vertical specific, that sort of stuff, and maybe just general key insights that we're seeing, whether it's coverage in terms of things that are sending. They used to be sending. A change happened. We're no longer connected in doing that. I think that's a huge part of a good practice, good hygiene to support the overall effort. Next slide. All right, so and another key piece is just high integrity stuff. A lot of the business that we've learned over the years is because clients come and say, look, I feel like these guys are just passing tickets. It's automated. It's not helping me. I need more specific direction. Can we do something more qualitative? So what we've done is gotten very close to clients, understanding two things: their context, and context are facts. It's your IPs, it's your usernames, it's your VIPs, it's your authorized service providers, etc. And then there's your personality. Do you care about failed logins 5 times? Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's in this situation. So when we do that and we bring this into these playbooks that is codified, it's scripted within the one platform, you get a very accurate SOC experience, right? One of the things that can break down is when clients don't talk to the SOC. We don't understand context, and if we don't trust it and we don't know it, we will raise it. This is a way where we're just fundamentally different than your typical MSSP. It's why we've gotten traction into the top 100 and top 500 on the MSSP side of the house. We're highly aligned with you. If you talk to us and you tell us information, what you care about, what your facts are, they go into the playbooks, and you have options in terms of response actions that David was talking about in terms of automating routine activities. Not only through the Sentinel platform and its capabilities, but the one platform itself, which is now reaching 2,000 API actions spanning almost 300 products. So massive capability to touch the stuff you already have. You're going to be in a hybrid mode when you transition. You can bring those things in to a single SOC and visualize that in the analytics platform. So one of the things we do with the 56 use cases, those are the things we look for. As that changes over time, it's super clear what your SOC is watching, and everything's defensible from there. You know exactly what happened, why it was ticketed, why it was not ticketed, and every single event has to be accountable. That's just the position we're all in now. SLAs are tracked according to that and the continuous improvement, but the goal here is to be absolutely defensible, and we're accountable to that as partners collectively. Next slide. One of the unique things is intelligence on day one. Not only is it quick to enable connectivity to the SOC from Sentinel, we've got the predefined use cases, so you're getting that immediate and curated value. We're also immediately generating analytics that you can use to manage the business, because we could do everything right and send all the log data in the world and detections are firing, but we need to manage the business better collectively as a leadership team and as a partnership. So what we've done is to give some instant higher level analytics. And in the one analytics platform, this is meant really for management teams, leadership teams to understand the trends. So some of the key ones: detection spotlight. What are the detections? What are the use cases? We mentioned 56. As that evolves, let's see what's actually happening, what's not happening, more importantly sometimes. The priority of those things. A bunch of low things, great. It's been a serene month and things are good, or my gosh, there's a lot of criticals and highs. We've got things to do. Mean time to resolve, mean time to respond. For us, it's about mean time to disposition, which is the SLA adherence criteria. So a lot of MSSPs will have an SLA in place that's based on the response time. Response does not help you. You need action, you need disposition. It's clearly a false positive and we can safely close it out, or we're not sure. It's absolutely something, or it's unknown and we need to raise it. So we track based on the disposition from the triage queue, either raising it to you or to close it out with defensibility. There's some other reports in here I'll show you in the demo. But what we're really trying to do is take a different approach at a higher level. When we look at number of things coming in, what's the false positive rate, true positive? This really represents the efficiency of the SOC, but also the accuracy, right? Why are 94% of the things coming in and 6% are true positives? Help us understand that. We're wasting time, you're wasting time. Those are things that we can look at in the touch points and flush out and trend those numbers down and up the way they should be. Next slide real quick. And actually a key point that was on the bottom of that last slide. So 4% or actually I think it's 96% of detections from the Verizon breach report had 4, or actually it was 3 or less indicators of compromise. The point is, you don't get many shots to catch the thing that's happening. You've got, generally speaking, 3 indicators of compromise. And if you miss one of those, sometimes you don't get lucky with 3. Sometimes it's 1. So that's the value add of that 24/7. And a lot of our clients, especially the larger ones, they have their own teams. So we can augment your staff, your effort, and bolt onto that and take the trench work, take the tier 1, some of the tier 2, so that your team can focus on enabling your business and focus on the harder, more involved investigations. Not everything's obvious. So as part of that, we've built this one platform. Today, we're going to shine a light on the analytics component of the platform. This is available. It's on the web. It's on the go. It's in the palm of your hand. One of the tough things that we've learned over the years is that PDFs and static reports, it's helpful, it's useful for the right situation. But what would be better? There's always a bar. There's always a shiny object on the screen. I want to touch that data, cube the data as I call it. I want to double click. I want to drill down by things. I'm curious, and everybody has a different level of understanding, a different perspective, a different goal, agenda, things they're accountable for. So interactive, drillable analytics, that's what you need to have in the palm of your hand. So I'd like to show you that and do a quick screen share, give you a couple-minute demo here, and obviously we could have follow-up conversations, take you more into the platform, take you more into analytics. So I'm going to share my screen, find the right one here. All right. You see this properly? Okay. All right. So what we're looking at here is this is a demo environment, but you get a quick look. And like I said, this works on your mobile, your iPad. It's all friendly. Everything you see here is interactive. It's drillable. You can see underlying data. You can export, and you can drill down and just drill down by different parameters. As I mentioned, everything coming in. So out of those 56 use cases, whatever happened within a period of time, you have different parameters. So today, this week, this month, this quarter, you could see that. You can't run from this. We can't touch this. This is an audit forensic framework. If it happened, it happened, and it's there. It's available. And this is not your typical event data. Millions of events. These are the mutually agreed use cases and detections that we think we all care about. That is different. It's fundamentally different. It's already separating, what's going on and what you really care about. So in this demo environment, 36 minutes, 36.78 minutes to be exact, is the average disposition across all things in the quarter. And this would again mean 36 minutes for the SOC to decide that it's not important, it's a false positive with defensibility, or we need to raise this to the client and we need to get on this. 3,601 things happened in the quarter. It could be within this month, depends on the demo environment here. Who knows what the data is, but you get to see by month and you get to see by the period. The other key thing is SLA violations. If it happened, again, this is a forensic tool. We can't change this. So whatever's there, it's there. You can see this, and this platform converges every 15 minutes. These things refresh constantly. Couple other key things here. So you can see the number of SOC tickets created, because a lot of times, especially early days when we didn't have this platform, it would be millions of events, thousands of alarms, 4 SOC tickets. How does that happen, right? What about the in-between? That might be a spot that you guys are already in today. We can answer that. Absolute defensibility from one hop to the other. And you can get a rough idea here as analysts step through the playbooks, because we have almost no creative license in our SOC. It is based on playbooks, mostly MITRE based. But as you move through it, it's tracking time. So you get a really good read on how much time has actually been spent by the SOC collectively across all the detections coming in. This chart here gives you an idea based on the day or week, whatever the time frame is, what's actually happening. So you can look at this and immediately say what happened on roughly, July 11th, 370 things. What happened there? Well, maybe there was an upgrade. Maybe there's a rule that got configured. Maybe something happened, or maybe there's actually a material event. But the point is, it took literally a half a second to spot something like that. And this is higher level. There's not a lot of tech in these screens. It's meant to be more simple and easy to understand. But when you do get curious, you can find answers. Drill down, right? I don't know, maybe event name. Let's see what caused it all. Bam, immediately you get to see what's going on. Here's the big spike. Windows user added 260. I could keep going. Who knows about the demo data if it's there, but username. Well, now we could figure out what's going on. 18 with this particular user. And it's like, I don't really like how that looks. I'd like to see it in this view. Sure, no worries. Change it to whatever suits the eye. You've got complete flexibility. And again, you can keep going back. You can keep cubing that data and moving through. And the other thing I want to point out in this screen, there is AI built in, so you can actually see the detection volume trends. Obviously, the more data we have, we get more insight into the future. There's a number of other charts, some of that were listed on the slide previously. I won't cover them all, but the point is it's more of the same in terms of different breakdowns. So you can actually see out of those 3,600 events that came in, show me the disposition. You are my SOC, you're defensible for every single detection, prove it, right? Ask your MSSP today if you're using one, you might not be able to get this, right? This is where things get different. And again, you can continuously drill down, you can view underlying data, and you could let it shape your eye. Change your view, change your lens. Sometimes just doing that helps you see the problem better. One of the key things I want to highlight, this platform is meant to create an ecosystem. It is meant to connect to the things you have and to connect to the new things you will have. It's meant to get rid of the things you no longer have. And it's meant to still distill so that you see things the same way. So in this case, in this demo environment, you may have Splunk already, right? But you need to stitch the entire view together so it's actionable and you can summarize for the leadership team. So you got Splunk and you've got 926 events. You've got Azure Sentinel. You got Defender endpoint. We run into a lot of environments where they have 4 or 5 child companies and they're using different products. What if you could have one screen that put it all together? And if I want to just see how I'm doing at my SIEM level, let's see. Now everything updates according to that. How am I doing at the endpoint? Let's check that out. And you get to see these trends based on those different lenses, I'll call it. That's fundamentally different. So think about, what if that said Zscaler? What if it showed your firewalls? What if it showed your proof point? You got lots of capabilities here. So whatever you have, it can come into the screen. It should come into your SOC. And I could continue to go through this, but I think that hopefully you get the point that you get to visualize this stuff. You get to interact. You get to see, things like the countries, Russia, what's going on from where. Is there a persistent threat? Can we do things to combat this? Get strategic with Edgile on a better approach. Better update these controls, augment with new controls, better things. Now you have insights that allows you to visualize that and take action. So with that, I get all fired up because I spent years and years building this. But with that, I'll turn it back to you, Paul, and we can carry forward.
There is one more thing we're going to touch on before we move on and wrap it up with Q&A. We're, alongside with joining CyFlare with the managed service and launching that. There's also a Sentinel QuickStart that we're launching as well. It's a 30-day QuickStart. It's light touch, a couple of meetings to basically turn Azure Sentinel on, start collecting data from both Microsoft and non-Microsoft devices, depending on the requirements of the QuickStart and what we come up with as the scope. Second meeting would be to review what we're seeing in Sentinel and take a look at some of the fine tuning. The third meeting would be to discuss, some additional use cases and things and how to move forward with that. And then obviously, as we get more mature, as we move down that path, talk about the full-scale integration and what the managed service piece would look like for that. So just wanted to throw that in there. That's something else that we're launching alongside with this. So now I will open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, thanks, Paul and Joe and David. Great session here. So we do have a few minutes left, I think, in our webinar today for Q&A. Obviously, on the page here, you can see some resources for you. Feel free to reach out to Paul or myself if you have specific follow-up questions on this managed service offering. You can also go to our website, obviously edgile.com/sentinel. There are some investment funds available from Microsoft on a limited basis for POCs and security programs. So we can also help you navigate that, and more details there also on our website. And then if you have colleagues that are also interested in other topics around information security, like unstructured data and zero trust, a couple of other upcoming webinars there also for you to potentially attend. Let's take a quick look at the chat window. I think there's a couple of questions that have come in on chat, and we can address some of those perhaps in the last few minutes here. So the first question that I think we have is around setup. Time to set up and ramp for the managed service. And I know, Paul, you had a quick start slide there, but maybe Joe and Paul, you want to comment a little bit more about what does it take to get up and running with the managed service that we're talking about today?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can tell you from the SOC side, we do have a 60-day formal ramp plan. So that includes, connecting, collecting the context and personality that I talked about, the initial burn-in phase so that we can eliminate the false positives. And we like to force a 60-day schedule. Obviously, everything's evergreen from there, and we're always doing that through the touch points. But I think you could expect really within a couple of weeks, you're getting meaningful data from analytics. Your SOC's fully engaged, and by day 60, we're well on our way.
Yeah, and just to add onto that too, I mean, some of the things we would probably discuss with is, are we getting all the information? What information are we getting? What do we need to connect? What does your environment look like? So all those things kind of add into what the scope would be to get that initial connection. So along with what Joe was saying.
Okay, great. Question here on pricing. How is the service priced? If you could comment on that, that would be, I'm sure, helpful to a lot of our listeners.
Sure. Yeah. It's based by per user, per device. There's different tiers. There's 500 devices that we're collecting from. If in base to two, we can talk about, if you want to get in touch with us about all the different types of devices that you have and users that you have. We can discuss different pricing tiers, but it's say 500, 1,500. 1,000, 10,000, we can discuss what that looks like.
Great. And I think the final question we have here is around analytics. So David talked a lot about analytics on the platform. Joe, you did a great demo there of the analytics available on the one platform. Can you help us understand when to use one versus the other, and how do these things complement each other? Maybe that would be helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. So we've really built this so that this is picking your head up. A lot of times when you're working, in the business, you're not working on the business. So think of this as, you know, really the forest over the trees, right? And looking high level, whereas the Sentinel, although it does provide that, again, we are spanning multiple controls, possibly. And this is really meant for management teams. Within Sentinel, you can drill down to get to the absolute specific granular detail. And you can take things all the way end to end from all the way through full investigation. So I think with the Sentinel platform, you're getting the high level analytics as it relates to Sentinel as well. And you can go all the way down to the details, whereas the one platform is really meant for management teams, and it's more topical.
Great. Thank you, Joe. Well, folks, I think we're about at the top of the hour here, so I'd like to thank our speakers, David and Joe specifically, Paul obviously as well, but and thanks everyone for attending. So hopefully this was an informative webinar for everyone. Please reach out with questions if you have follow-up. We'd be more than delighted to and happy to help you as you think through your Sentinel journey, your managed services journey. If you have managed services need, obviously, we're very excited to be in a position here, partnering with Joe and team to offer this as a service. So again, our contact information is on the screen, and thanks everyone for attending today. Appreciate it.